Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Altar Podcast. This episode is called Holding Space, Creating and Leading the Community of Your Dreams. This phrase, holding space, has gotten a lot of play, a lot of use in the last year especially, but I really love it and I want to draw our attention to it and really think about what it means to hold a space. It might be a little confusing. What is it that you're holding? I think we actually best know what this means by seeing when it fails, seeing really bad examples of holding space. So, because it's so heartbreaking, it's so disappointing. Can you think back to a gathering that you've gone to where you left feeling like there was a huge missed opportunity? Like all of these people had made all of this effort to come together, whether in person or it can happen digitally as well, online. And the space was not held in such a way that allowed for deep connections, true connections, rich conversations. So you leave feeling like you didn't really get to connect with anyone. And this is all the more heartbreaking when it's a big occasion like a wedding or a birthday or a celebration of something that is not architected in any way. There's no design to it. There's a wonderful book called The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. I can't recommend it highly enough. And she goes into thinking about all of the kinds of gatherings that we have and asking ourselves, what is it that we really want to accomplish with this gathering? What is this gathering really about? Because oftentimes, even though it might just be about, say, a birthday or a yoga class, what we really want to happen there are other goals. We really want connections, conversations, the beginnings of friendship. We want to simply know and be known. So I want to begin by asking you this question. How would you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 the quality of your community right now? How does your communal life feel to you on a scale of 1 to 10? As a way into this question, which is, I know, a big, broad question, I'm going to read some prompts from the Envision Planner from the community sphere. So at the beginning of the planner goes through 12 different spheres of our lives, like our body, our spiritual life, our relational life, our finances, our creative life, all these different spheres of our life. And there's a whole sphere dedicated to community. So I ask, what do you dream for your community, for your closest friendships? So let's start there, that closest inner circle. How can you cultivate and enrich them for all of the circles of which you are part? So this is how you can begin to answer that question of how would you rate the health of your community on a scale of 1 to 10, or your experience, the quality of your community on a scale of 1 to 10, your neighborhood and city, spiritual community that you might be in or want to be in, athletic communities, work communities, online communities that are meaningful to you. How can you lead these communities into more brave, authentic, intimate connection and collaboration? And an important related question, how will you establish boundaries that protect your energy and respect your values? So our communal lives, our lives in community, are this dance between opening ourselves and boundarying ourselves, right? That's the dance of relationship. How much do we want to give? What do we need to hold sacred? Who gets what, right? It's helpful for me. I think of the rings of a tree when I think about all of the different communities of which we're part, that we're in these expanding circles of community. You have the people that you talk to every day and maybe the people that you live with. You have people that you're talking to every few days, and then maybe people that you're meeting with once a month. Of course, you have your work community or acquaintances community, that these are people that you may be seeing every day or almost every day. And sometimes we don't think about the quality of all of those relationships. So what I want to bring our attention to is, how can we become the architects of the kinds of communities that we long for, the kinds of gatherings that we long for. You hear, I use the words courage and bravery when I'm talking about this, because that's what it takes. It takes vision, first of all, to imagine the kinds of gatherings that we really want to have, the kinds of friendships that we really want to have, the kinds of partnerships, the kinds of romances that we really want to have. And I'm going to guess that for most of us, most of what is missing is some form of depth. Like, we want to go deep. We want to go deep. When we're laying on our deathbeds, this is all that is going to matter. The quality of our community, the quality of our relationships, how deeply did we know and how deeply did we allow ourselves to be known? This takes intention. This doesn't just happen by itself. And especially in our increasingly digital world, and with all of the possibilities of AI that we're starting to see on the horizon, and all of the artificial relationships that we're going to be able to have, having the kind of deep, rich, true connections that we deeply, deeply crave takes intention. It takes vision. So this is my highest priority for this year, is catalyzing the kind of communities that I want to be in and the kind of communities that I'm hearing that people are longing for. So I'm really thinking a lot about, what does it look like to hold space? What does it look like to create gatherings that have just enough, and it's such a dance, just enough freedom and flow as structure and intention. It's not fun to go, to any kind of like a too structured experience where there's no time to really drop into conversations that meander, right? There's no time for the unexpected. It's really an art. I think that's why that book is so beautifully titled The Art of Gathering. It's an art to find that dance between structure and freedom, space, holding the space, and also offering some direction, offering some curation. I love the title, A Master of Ceremonies. We hear it usually at a wedding or any kind of a ceremony of some kind. There's a master of ceremonies. There's someone whose job it is to direct everyone who's gathered through the flow of the gathering so that the goals of the gathering are accomplished. So question 1, how would you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 the quality of your community right now? And as you think about those expanding circles of your life, where is it that you're most missing intentionality and depth in community? Like, which of those spheres are you, intense way to put it, I think that's really going to shine a spotlight on where we're at, is what element of your experience of relationships right now is breaking your heart? What element is deeply disappointing to you? So let's breathe into that discomfort and take a moment with it. See it as our teacher, see it as our invitation right now. So a related question to this first question of how would you evaluate on a scale of 1 to 10 the quality of your community? A related question is, are you active or passive toward your community? Do you wait for invitations to come in, or are you offering them? I mean, you can become very micro about this. The relationship that's most important to you, the relationship in your life, the quality of which is the most important to you, right now, are you more active or passive in that relationship? That right there can be a revelation. Often there's this relationship between our passivity and our lack of intentionality or our lack of investment, right? So just start to become attentive to, how active am I in my community? How active am I in leading and creating the quality of gatherings, of experiences, of connections that I want to have? And let's just agree that taking an active role is the only way that we're going to get the kinds of connections and gatherings that we're longing for and dreaming of. We know the difference between a draining gathering and an energizing gathering. It is the best feeling in the world to be in the flow of conversation. I just had one of these brunches this past weekend with new friends where we were going for it in terms of vulnerability and sharing where we're at in our lives and what are the blessings, what are the challenges. And it's the best feeling in the world to leave and feel like we went for it, and also we just barely got started. Like, there's more to say. I can't wait to spend more time with them. I can't wait to pick up all those threads and go deeper. So we know what it feels like to go to gatherings that are draining, and oftentimes draining gatherings that drain our energy, lack that kind of architecture of intimacy, architecture of connection and intention. So just want to give you that language as well. What of the gatherings that you go to are draining and what are energizing? And the gatherings that are consistently draining probably are no longer for you. They're no longer serving you. Maybe you need to stop going. Or a really interesting question is that a place where you want to take a more active role? Is it possible for you to take a more active role in that gathering? My next question to you is, who are your hosting heroes? Or what are the gatherings in your life that you've either been to or seen, heard about that were intentionally designed for intimacy, for connection, for this unforgettable experience? I love this question of who are your hosting heroes. One of my hosting heroes just came out with a book this last year, Ina Garten. She's written a million cookbooks. She's known as the Barefoot Contessa. And she just came out with a memoir with such a great title, Be Ready When the Luck Happens, telling her incredible story of building an amazing business on creating meaningful gatherings. And part of what I love about what she teaches, and you can hear it even in her title, what she's known as the Barefoot Contessa, that she fuses this art of informality, casualness, which is all about hospitality, right? Which is when we are creating a gathering that is informal, there's this way in which we're saying, come as you are, come exactly as you are. You don't have to cover up parts of you. Come as you are. She's the Barefoot Contessa, right? Take it, can we make it easy? She's always asking, can we make this easier? How can we make this easier? Because hosting can be such a stressful experience. And, it's such a terrible feeling to go to any kind of a gathering when the host is stressed out, which is probably the majority of gatherings, because again, hosting with intentionality takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of design. So anyway, I highly recommend her new memoir that's out. And another of my hosting heroes, I actually did a podcast episode with, one of the early Altar podcast episodes, with Dana Trixie Flynn. She was known as Dana Trixie Flynn at that point. She now goes by Dana Grateful Flynn on Instagram. She is a yoga teacher, and I loved watching how she would set the tone of a class. First of all, music was always playing when you walked into her classes, and it was not the music you would usually hear in a yoga class. This was not Enya. This is not like flute sounds. It's not Zen. It's joyful. She's playing all of the great gospel artists. She's playing blues. She's playing dance music. She's playing a lot of soul. And you walk in and that is setting a very intentional tone. The space is painted and designed in a very intentional way. Her energy was joy. And so that's all over the place in the space that she had designed, the space that she was holding. But she also, and I hadn't ever seen a yoga instructor do this, she would weave her way through the whole entire class, and her classes, for this reason, were usually at least 100 people. And I would always go to the Friday at noon class at her studio in New York City. It would be packed because people are so hungry for this kind of gathering. And with 100 people in the space, she would weave her way through the whole entire class. Before the class started, she made eye contact with every single person. The people that she knew, she said hi to. She had some kind of interchange with them. And the people that she didn't know, she introduced herself to. She learned their names, and she's talking with them through the course of the class. She's calling out encouragement. She's calling you by name. So powerful. And her classes were also this really beautiful balance of structure and flow, dance, freedom, laughter. Yes, hold your pose, and yes, fall out of your pose because you're laughing so hard. So, who are your hosting heroes? What are the kinds of gatherings that you have attended that made you leave feeling energized, feeling celebrated, feeling like you didn't want it to end? Very importantly, what are the elements of those gatherings? What are the elements of those gatherings? What are the elements of the art of hosting as you have seen it done so well? So my next question, final question, which is the most fun, is how could you craft these type of gatherings this year? So first of all, I'm just going to challenge you to one. I'm going to challenge you to create one gathering that is the gathering of your dreams. And this could be anything from a dinner party to a family reunion, to a retreat, to a trip. I mean, you could go as big or as micro as you want to go. My challenge one to you is to create at least one of the kind of gatherings, the kind of celebrations that you would love to attend, that you wish existed. And my extension of that challenge is, what if you created a regular gathering, a regular meeting group that fulfills a need that you have this year communally? So that can look like so many different things. It's maybe once a week, it's maybe once a month, but I want to encourage you to at least do it once a month. It's maybe a book club, or it is a dinner. It's a club of whatever kind, right? It's a hike that maybe you plan once a month or once a week. But the point of it is to think about that sphere of your life, that sphere of your community that is your close friends. And even if right now, even if that's one person, or it's an invitation that you're going to make to one person, and it's the kind of friendship that you're going to try to build with this kind of intentionality, but that you're bringing just enough structure, just enough guidance that's actually setting out an intention for this gathering. So there's plenty of book clubs we know that are just about wine and gossip, right? But what do you want to attend? What kind of structure do you long for? What kind of intentionality do you long for? What do you feel like you really need in terms of accountability and encouragement and resources? As I've been asking myself this question of, what are the kinds of gatherings first that I want to attend, that I want to be part of, but also what am I hearing from my community, from you, about what you're longing for? Those are the three ingredients: accountability, encouragement, and what I'm calling mutual resourcing. So my answer to this challenge is also an invitation to you. This year, for the first time, I'm including in the Visionary course, Volume 1, Your Dream Year, which is this deep dive into the Envision Planner, into your dreams, your vision for this next chapter of your life, whether that's a new year or a new season of some kind for you. So I'm including in the Visionary course this small mentorship group called the Visionary Circle. It's going to be limited in size to 12 people. If beyond that sign up, I'll start another one, because I think that that's the sweet spot for both being able to connect to a whole diversity of people, like-hearted allies, but keeping it intimate enough that, again, we can know and be known on a deep level. And those are the three ingredients of this group: accountability, encouragement, and mutual resourcing. Accountability, because we all know that when we actually tell another person or 12 other people our goals, all of a sudden we've put some skin in the game. All of a sudden we are so much more likely to show up to that. When we know that we're in process with a group of people committed to growth, that we're going to take those goals that we're setting for ourselves so much more seriously. It's not just our investment in the goals. Those other people that we're on this journey with, they're invested in our goals too. So if I've told a group of friends that I'm training for an Ironman or I'm training for a half marathon and I fall off the training bandwagon, they're also disappointed in that they're on that journey with me, right? So to give yourself that cheering squad is the number one most important thing that you can do to help to support yourself in changing habits or in reaching for something that feels bigger than you or bigger than where you're at right now. So accountability is going to be a part of it, loving accountability, and also encouragement, sharing vulnerably about the challenges that we're facing in growing into a new version of ourselves, reaching for something new. What are the challenges that we're facing in changing habits, in changing our belief patterns? Creating a space where we can actually talk about those things with a group of people who are caring, who are confidential. And lastly, mutual resourcing. So I'm so excited to see, and as I've led small groups along with courses in the past, like when I offered the weighty course, which is now Energize, which is my 4-week nutrition and mindset reset. So a full reset for your body and your spirit and the way that you view your body, the way that you fuel your body. Those conversations were incredible in the vulnerability, the places that people were willing to go when they knew that they were held in a loving community, but also the resources. So yeah, I've got my toolbox of resources that I'm there to share, but it's so fun to hear everybody else's toolbox and to resource each other with all that we have. So as we're sharing the struggles that we're facing, the challenges that we're facing, also sharing the resources that have supported us along the way. So if the Visionary Circle is calling to you, I would love for you to join. You can find out all about it and the Visionary course. You get that as well. So we're going to use that as a toolbox as we're going through these sessions together at NicoleMeline.com/visionary. And for dreamy in-person gatherings in some of my favorite places in the world, there's 3 Altar Journeys retreats that are on the horizon. Costa Rica this late February, early March, and Colorado this summer. So a Boulder retreat in May and a ranch retreat in the mountains in July. You can find out about all of those or sign up for interest lists for those at NicoleMeline.com/altarjourneys. So I would love to invite you to join the Visionary Circle small mentorship group or any of these retreats or any of my programs at NicoleMeline.com/programs as we continue the practice of growth. And I would love to hear about the communities that you're going to create this year, the gatherings that you're going to create this year that align with your vision and your longing for the quality of community that you want to have in your life, so that this time next year, when you ask yourself that question, how would I rate the quality of my community, you're amazed at the ground that you've covered, the way that you've grown in being the architect of the communities that we all want most deeply as we alter together. Also, I'm starting to work with some of my favorite products as sponsors of this podcast as a way to support the podcast and also you. This week's product highlights are especially relevant for a New Year's wellness up level. My favorite green juice powder, Organifi. I have a scoop every morning in my green smoothie, or if I'm in a rush or traveling, I have it just on its own in some cold water. Organifi has these great little travel packs. I also really love their collagen and Shilajit gummies. You can order Organifi linked in the show notes using my code HEARTWARD, HEARTWARD, in the direction of the heart. And speaking of my morning smoothie, I throw in some frozen pineapple and ice and kale or other leafy greens, and my favorite protein powder, Kachava. I use the vanilla flavor in my green smoothie, and y'all, I cannot even tell you how good this stuff is, both in terms of its taste and consistency and ingredient quality. You know how most protein powder is kind of chalky and it is hard to stir and it just doesn't taste very good? Ka'Chava is amazing. I've tried so many different kinds of protein powders. I've never found one that has this great of consistency. It's so easy to blend. There's tons of different flavors. And it's also full of omega-3 and chia and flax and antioxidants and adaptogens. So it truly is a superfood. Order Ka'Chava protein powder with the link in the show notes. I would love to hear what this podcast has stirred in you. Connect with me on Instagram at Nicole Meline and at Alter Together. And please, please follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on or watching on YouTube. And rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I read and appreciate every single review. And share it with a friend or on social media. Tag me at Nicole Meline and at Alter Together so we can build like-hearted community. Send me a direct message about what podcast topics you would like me to explore. To support this podcast and your fitness and mindfulness journey, join my Alter Together community and digital studio with a free trial at NicoleMeline.com/alter, ALTER, and subscribe to my newsletter at NicoleMeline.com to learn about new offerings and retreats. I am so deeply grateful for you and wishing us a year of our bravest dreams and boldest action as we alter together.